Hong Kong. So it's a city and special measures region of China. So special administrative region. It just basically means a place in China has more autonomy than China itself. So like Hong Kong and Macau, the two territories that are basically like separate from mainland China. Not like separate, like they're not far away, but like as in they have their own laws and systems. So because those two places were colonized by European colonies, empires. So Hong Kong was ruled by the British and Macau was ruled by the Portuguese. And well, yeah, they were given back to China, but they can still have their own rules and laws until the, until in 50 years, around like the late 2040s. But that's besides the point. So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna mention Hong Kong because it's my birthplace, and you know how much I love the city. But we're not talking about the city itself, but rather its political system. But most importantly, we'll be talking about if Hong Kong's a democracy or not. Now, now, some of you may know Hong Kong, some of you don't, but that's how it is. So you know what? Let's get straight to the point. So the answer to this question is, well, the short answer, at least, is yes. It's a democracy. Relatively short, but a bit longer answer is yes, but it's complicated. Not a long answer. I'm joking. I mean, this is gonna be a long answer, sort of a long answer anyway. So, yeah, I'll make this quick and snappy. So, yeah, the yes part. Yes, it's a democracy because you can't vote, you can't criticize the government, and there are like there are like political parties that can dominate the politic, the political system in Hong Kong. Unlike mainland China, where it's mainly the Chinese Communist Party that mainly dominates, like the other political parties, they rarely have any influence on the country. But that's besides the point. So, so the yes part I've mentioned, but the reason why I say it's complicated is because for the voting one, well, elections at least. Well, for the vote, well, yes, you can vote. That's part of democracy. But the problem lies within the fact that in recent years, Hong Kong has intentionally been choosing pro-Beijing candidates to run in government positions. Now, pro-Beijing candidates, it just means the candidates that support China and its actions, and they would even rarely criticize China and all that. And also, they also love Hong Kong, but that's besides the point. Now, you may be wondering, well, what's wrong with that? I mean, aren't you supposed to be patriotic anyways to run the country well? Well, not country, but the territory well? Yes, that is true, but the problem lies within the fact that mainland China is an authoritarian country, a dictatorship basically. So obviously, those candidates they wouldn't even criticize mainland China's action, well, the Chinese government's action. They would support it, and especially since the Chinese government still has some control over Hong Kong. They can sometimes do whatever the hell they want. So, for example, if they want to crush the freedom of the city, then they can. If the if many of the government positions are taken by pro Beijing officials, so but you know what I mean. So that's the problem. And actually, back in 2014, there's China tried to pass a law which is called the Electoral Reform that basically states that anybody, that only people who love Hong Kong and China and are patriotic enough, then they can run. They can just run government positions. Other political parties that aren't like pro Beijing or anything like that, then they're basically banned from participating in elections. I know it's terrible. So protests. As a result, the protests happened from September to December, so 3 months it happened. During that time, it was largely peaceful to say the least, but But there are sometimes violence, especially among police officers, such as police brutality, in case of them using the tear gas on one occasion, and sometimes beating up protesters. And actually, there's actually a notorious case about the beating up part. So it's called the beating of Ken Tang, and Ken Tang is basically a pro democracy activist in Hong Kong. But anyways, so around October in 2014, at around 3 a.m. Hong Kong time, police officers were clearing the protest site in Admiralty. Admiralty is the site of the where government offices are in, and that's the site where the protests, where a lot of the protests happened here. But anyways, so basically, police officers were clearing the area, and some of the officers went to like an underpass on the road, and what they saw is Ken Tang like pouring the liquid on a police officer. So basically, water. I'm just saying. So what they did is that they saved the officer, and they captured Ken, and then like bring him up, and they handed to like the other officers, and so the other officers took Ken, but instead of putting him into the police van and taking him to the police station, what they did is that they took him away, and they placed him on a dark corner, and they started beating him for 5 minutes, like kicking him, punching him, using the batons to beat him. You know what happened? Yeah, it's it's terrible, terrible thing. And yeah, obviously Ken got, well, not injured, but like he got some scratches and all that, so, and bruises. So yeah, he was sent to the hospital later on. But anyway, but he was still arrested. Don't worry though. The officers, they got suspended from the jobs, and eventually they got they've been sentenced. So at least justice is served. I mean, Ken was still sentenced, but that's besides the point. You can search up more about the case, the beating of Ken Tang. But that's, yeah. So we'll skip that through. So yeah, protests happened, and then eventually, eventually, yeah, the protests happened, and in December it ended, which many people in Hong Kong saw as unfortunately a failure, because the many of the protesters' demands weren't met. So yeah, that means the electoral reform was not was not proposed, well, not implemented into law. Well, not law, but you know what I mean. But in 2015, next year, the Hong Kong government rejected the law. So that means, the good news is that that reform isn't passed, which means that reform isn't going to be applied. So that means like so that means pro-Beijing candidates don't have to just run government positions. Any political parties can. But yeah, it's a victory, yes. But the problem is that sometimes people who aren't affiliated with the pro-Beijing candidate, so pro pro democracy camp, yeah, that's another political party in Hong Kong. They're basically more liberal with their stance. So that means they're obviously going to be more critical of the Hong Kong government and the Chinese government. But that's besides the point. So after those years, probably sometimes pro democracy camp members they were sometimes banned from elections, even though the reform, which only allowed pro Beijing candidates to run, was rejected and it was never applied. So yeah, it's sad. And sorry, some noise outside. But anyways, so what was it? What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so in 2021, just recently, well, not just recently, but like quite recently, the China proposed an electoral reform. This time it was passed because many of the members of pro-Beijing candidate, and at that time, political dis anyone who opposes mainland China, they're gonna be they're gonna be arrested basically, and arrested and silenced in the territory. But I'll get to that later on. So this time the law was successfully passed, which means it's the end of the pro-democracy members who want to participate in elections because they cannot anymore. So only pro-Beijing candidates can run. But anyways, yeah, that's one of the reasons why democracy is like a debate in Hong Kong. The other one is the fact that in recent years, mainland Chinese authorities have been operating more in Hong Kong. So this is especially the case back in 2015, where around five bookstore owners got abducted. Well, they didn't go. Well, basically, they disappeared, and apparently they got abducted by mainland Chinese authorities, and they were sent to mainland China so that they can get detained, all because they expressed negative opinions to the Chinese government. Well, don't worry, some of them have been released, but it was still a major concern among Hong Kongers, the people of Hong Kong, basically. It was a major concern for Hong Kongers because obviously you cannot well mainland China cannot send its authorities to Hong Kong since Hong Kong itself has its own authorities, so and because of the one country two systems. So forget about that. Anyway, yeah, yeah. So basically, they have to adhere to that law, and they didn't. So they just broke it. But you know what? That's them. So yeah. Now, now, now the other one is back in 2020 when China proposed a national security law. So it states that anyone who opposes mainland China or the Hong Kong government in general, they're going to be arrested or silenced. And that law was successfully passed. And the reason why they passed the law is because there's the huge and violent protests that happened in 2019. If you watched these, you know what happened. But that's besides the point. Because all concerns with democracy, mainland China, Hong Kong government, and all that. But yeah, you can search that up for more info about it. But anyway, so so as a result, the national security law it was basically a blow to Hong Kong's democracy. Like you cannot criticize mainland China anymore. Like at all, you cannot criticize them anymore. If you do, you'll be silenced and arrested. And it actually has been enforced. Like many people have been arrested, which includes anyone who opposes mainland China, which obviously includes the protesters and pro-democracy members. But anyways, um, that law is still in effect, by the way, so just be aware of that. Now, um, what's the other one I was going to say? Oh yeah, the other one is that in recent years there has been suppression of. I mean, it's similar to the what I've said before, but in recent years there has been more suppression of people who oppose mainland China and the Hong Kong government. So it has happened ever since Hong Kong. It has already happened since Hong Kong was handed over to mainland China, but that thing occurs extremely rare. But when Leung Chun-yin took over in 2012, he was the chief executive of Hong Kong. And now chief executive, it's just like the prime minister of Britain and the president of America. But that's besides the point. So Leung Chun-yin, who, well, he's allegedly part of the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party. So as a result, when he took power, he basically crushed a lot of the freedom in Hong Kong, and he also what? Yeah. So basically, crushed quite a lot of the freedom in Hong Kong, and he took down more. He was more suppressive with anyone who opposes him or mainland China. China. Oh, and he resigned in 2017. But yeah, yeah. Carrie Lam, the first female chief executive, and the one that was the successor of Lung Chunyin, she was the same thing. Let's just say that. And now, after her in 2022, we got what was it? Yeah, right now, currently we got John Lee Kuan, and he's basically the same. Although he's also more focused on he's also more focused on Jesus. What was I gonna say? Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember now. So so basically, he's also most focused on the issues that doesn't concern with politics. It's like the housing crisis in Hong Kong and all that. So yeah, he's an alright leader, but he's still rather authoritarian to say the least. And that's about it. I know I described badly. I know, but you know what? If you want to learn more about democracy in Hong Kong, just search up like YouTube or Google or anything like that. I hope you guys at least get some context about it. As I said, I'm pretty terrible at describing, but you know what? I'm just me. Oh, you're probably wondering what Hong Kong is right now, right? It's a hybrid regime. So basically, a hybrid regime is basically a mixture of democracy and dictatorship. So so right now, Hong Kong has some democratic stuff in it, but it also has some stuff that are similar to a dictatorship. So it's a mixture of the two. Now, previously, Hong Kong was a flawed democracy. It's basically a democracy, but with issues. So yeah, so yeah, but with recent stuff and all that, Hong Kong's not a hybrid regime. But that's besides the point. Now, you're probably wondering what the UK is, right? Well, the UK is a full democracy, which means chances are, well, that means a democracy that's functioning well, and mo- and obviously you won't get arrested just for hating the government or anything like that. Obviously, except when you say you're gonna assassinate the prime minister or something, then chances are you're obviously gonna be arrested because why the hell would you want to commit a crime? So yeah, so yeah. But anyways, I'm terrible at describing, so I'm sorry. But if you really want to learn more about democracy in Hong Kong, just go on the internet and just yeah. But at least it gives you some context about it. So to answer your question fully, yes, Hong Kong is a democracy, but there are some issues with it. So thank you for watching, and as always, I'll see you all in the wait. Actually, you know what? That's not the reason why I moved away from Hong Kong and moved here. I moved in 2015. The reason why is because I just thought the UK is a better country. I didn't know anything about democracy and stuff like that until like recently. But anyways, yeah, that's besides the point. But anyways, truly, thank you for watching, and as always, I'll see you all in the next video.